Welcome back to the Through the Lane podcast. Today's going to be a quick episode. They were supposed to be filmed with new co-host, and at Tech, they're switching some technical stuff up. I'm going to have to help how to learn it. So we'll be back there. We'll be returning there Friday, and we got a new co-host as well as so the episodes are going to be there from now on till the rest of the semester, and then we'll figure out what I'm going to do over the summer. As well as right now, it's my favorite time of the year in the NFL draft. I love the NBA and NFL draft, mainly the NFL draft because I watch more college football. So I'm going to have separate episodes based just solely diving in on the NFL draft. Probably won't be every week, but it'll be for me to explain, who, my mock draft, who I think's going to rise. Like I just worked on a thing yesterday where I was like, guys, I'm excited to see at the Senior Bowl and, NFL Combine. And it'll be explaining that. I'll have an episode coming out with that this week. And that will come out on the website as well. The thing about the guys I'm excited to see at the Senior Bowl will come out on the website as well. I originally wanted to do a mock draft, but with too much going on, I took that down. 2.0 will come out a few days after the Senior Bowl when guys build their stock or lower their stock. Major guys going to be Mike Green. But it's going to be just to see, all of that. So there'll be a separate episode. I may have someone else help do that episode. Sorry, I received a call. I had to go take it. But, yeah, that's the announcements, pretty much. With everything going on right now. So there'll be a separate episode every few weeks, maybe every week. Current co-host may be on it as well. Just depends, time dependent. But there might be another guy who helped out last spring, with the podcast. So he's going to help make mock drafts. The current co-host may make a few mock drafts, but we're going to start publishing things just to get it out there. Because it's a very exciting time of the year. And it's a very interesting draft class. I'm not going to go into much on it because I will be here for a while and I don't have much time. But so we're not going to talk about the NFL head coaches because I want my co-host, he'll be revealed next week, to talk about it. So that's going to wait till next Friday. And I'm only going to briefly cover college football playoffs and just the championship game. We'll talk about the playoffs next week. And the NFL playoffs. First off, college football playoffs. Ohio State beat Notre Dame. It wasn't really a shocker. Will Howard's done great for his stock. That Ohio State team's just too good. That defense is stout. Latham Ransom has done a great job with his draft stock. Jack Sawyer, I believe now is a first-round pick. I wasn't high on him, but he's gone stupid. And he's boosted his stock up a lot. I really like what I've seen from him. They just dominated the game. And so, not really dominated. They dominated the first half, second half, about a quarter and a half. Notre Dame came back. But towards the end, they just locked it back in. The deep ball to Jeremiah Smith. Jeremiah Smith, listen here. He's going to be the best receiver in college football ever. I full-heartedly say that. The kid's a monster. He's fast. He's physical. I don't know what they're feeding these kids nowadays because it's just insane. It makes no sense as a freshman. I mean, Ryan Williams is really good. But you can take Ryan Williams away. I mean, they took Jeremiah Smith away. Texas did. But that was with Jahdae Barron. And he's going to be a first-round pick. I have him as, corner 2. But Jeremiah Smith is game-changing. I mean, he dominated a game by himself where you just throw it up and get to him. Ryan Williams, not as much. You can overthrow Jeremiah Smith, and Jeremiah Smith jump up and get it. Ryan Williams, not really. They're very similar players, but coming in halfway through the season, you're 1A, 1B. Now it's 1 and then 2, and it's everyone forgets what Ryan Williams did because it didn't happen in the playoffs, how he took over the Georgia game. And he had a few games early on in the year where he took over. But defense is solely focused on him because only above average receiver Alabama had, and Florida, Ohio State. I mean, you've got a top 5 pick in Jeremiah Smith. You've got a first rounder in Emeka Egbuka. You have probably what I think will be either a second rounder or a first round pick in Cardinal Tate. You have Travion Henderson and Quentin Junkins. I mean, it wasn't all dependent on them, and they couldn't really take him away all game. Outside of Texas, because Texas probably had the second best secondary. Actually, I will say best secondary in the playoffs. Jahdae Barron. If Benjamin Morrison plays for Notre Dame, which I think everyone forgot that he was there, he's probably corner 1, then I think Notre Dame has the number 1 secondary. But with Jahdae Barron and Andrew, I'm not even going to say his last name because I'm about to butcher it. The kid from Clemson that transferred over, the safety, it's pretty good secondary. Andrew Makuba, who had 5 picks, 7 pass deflections, great safety. I think, but they did a great job with him. Ohio State needed it. It's a shame to see that some of the starting offensive linemen for Notre Dame is already transferring out, but Ohio State needed it badly with the loss to Michigan. Now, on to the NFL playoffs, right? And it's going to be an interesting matchup, and next week's episode is going to be amazing because we've got great matchups this weekend with the Eagles playing the Commanders and the Chiefs playing the Bills. I mean, it's wonderful. But the Lions lost to the Commanders, and, the Lions put up 31 points. They turned the ball over 5 times. And if they don't do that, they probably win the game. But these shootouts, they just can't win every week. The lack of defensive help caught up to him, I believe. You allowed 45 points. Yes, you had 5 turnovers, but you allowed 45 points. Your defense could not stop a turtle for a bit. They're just walking up and down the field. It was an issue. Jaden Daniels played like the best quarterback in the draft class. I think he's the best rookie quarterback to ever played. Kid's got poise. I said with it last year, he's a dog. Him being that old, he's like 24, having 5 to 6 years of college experience, playing in big games. I mean, LSU, that was a time when, them and Alabama were both tip top. He took over games. And he went nuts. So I think all that experience helps him now. He doesn't look rattled. He doesn't look scared. The Lions, just lack of health. I think it is just a lack of health. The Eagles beat the Rams in a great game. That defense, that front 7 for the Rams is going to be an issue for years to come. And they're just going to keep drafting for it. I think the Rams need another receiver potentially and a corner. But and probably offensive line help, I think. Because Jalen Carter was bullying guys. Nolan Smith, he's had two Georgia boys having a great postseason already 2 games in. They just bullied him. But, the Rams offense played well. It was just the ball control. The way that the offensive line in Saquon Barkley can take over the game for the Eagles is unmatched. No one else can fight it, and it's elite. It's elite. It's game-changing. But so the Eagles will play the Commanders this upcoming Sunday. It's going to be a wonderful game. Next, the Bills beat the Ravens. And it was a good game. So everyone's dogging on Lamar. I said this last week, whoever loses is going to get the short end of the stick. Lamar doesn't deserve it. Lamar outdueled Josh Allen. He outdueled him. It was his supporting cast let him down. They had a few turnovers. You can't turn over the ball. But it wasn't like Lamar. Like usually Lamar sucks. And you're like, man, Lamar was bad. Lamar didn't suck. He had like a few touchdowns. He did have a pick, but that's fine. He threw for 264 yards. Derrick Henry, I think the key for them is Derrick Henry going over 100. Lamar had 39 yards rushing. This is also with Isaiah Flowers too. Isaiah likely popped back off. He's been a no-show for most of the year in my opinion. Mark Andrews misses that 2-point conversion pass, but still. Josh Allen only had 127 yards passing. The Ravens outgained the Bills in every sense, and it just didn't work out for them. And I think that's just due to turnovers in field position. And so I don't think this is a knock on Lamar this year. I think if Lamar played bad, then yeah, you blame Lamar, like obviously, but he didn't. And so I don't think you can blame Lamar and say that, that narrative needs to go away. But the Bills will meet the Chiefs, who beat the Texans. And man, I felt bad for C.J. Stroud, and I think this highlighted the issue that it wasn't more or less C.J. Stroud sucking this year, as it was doesn't have the weapons. His offensive receivers got hurt. All three main receivers have been on the IR this year, and I think the tight end had been on. Don Schultz has been on the IR as well, but all main guys. Xavier Hutchinson finally popping off. I mean, he's doubled his career receiving yards the past few games. I mean, he had 52 yards receiving. The thing is his most. John Mechie slowly coming back in. The kid just beat cancer about a year ago. But you have Nico Collins. But they got bullied offensively, right? And Will Anderson played a game out of his mind. 1 second. Don't stab me in the back. But the offensive line struggled to protect. George Karlaftis, who at one point was looked at as a top 5 pick in his class, he fell back due to playing at Purdue, and I think he had a lack of production his last year, had 3 sacks. He's one of the most underrated pass rushers in the NFL. I mean, they're not going to count his postseason sacks, but he had 3 sacks. 3 of them. They had, I think, 9 total? 8. They just harassed C.J. Stroud, and that's something I love defensively. Because I think it's underrated. If you can suffocate an offense with your defensive front, it's game over. You don't even need that. You need an average secondary at that point because everything's off kilter. And not saying the Chiefs secondary is average, but I mean they've got Chris Jones, Felix Azama, who was a recent first round pick. Then you have George Karlaftis, a first round pick. Then you have Charles Omenihu, who's pretty good. I mean, they just all went after him. I mean, your 4 main guys, if you had Omenihu, had 5 sacks. Then Derek Natty had another one. Trayshawn Wharton and Kamari Connor. I mean, they just harassed C.J. Stroud all game long. Now, I kept him in with Will Anderson having 2 sacks, and Danielle Hunter didn't do much, but they need offensive line help. And I'm tired of everybody saying they need, this, that, and the third defensively, or, they can fix the linebacker position in the later rounds because you don't have a great linebacking class, but, there's depth. You can get a few starters. You need offensive line. And I think this is where you can get some good offensive line depth. But, I mean, yeah, it was disappointing. Travis Hunter had a heck of a game. Xavier Worthy starting to come on as, the number 1 receiver. As of late, in my opinion, he's their best receiver on the team, most talented. But, yeah, it's going to be a great weekend. Chiefs versus Bills, and Eagles versus Commanders. It's going to be a wonderful Super Bowl. We're going to talk about the player awards next week as well. I think my all-rookie team's published. I will probably publish it sometime today or tomorrow as well with the episode. But, yeah, it's a very quick episode. I got work at 2, so see y'all next time.